Retrolux is essentially trying to solve the age-old question of how many people does it take to change a light bulb. So in the commercial building space, light bulbs are getting changed out every single day, and nobody really knows that it's happening other than the people doing the work. Well, there's a lot of people involved in that process. There's the electrician who installs it, there's the supplier that sells it, the distributor that gets it there, the manufacturer who makes it, the utility that provides an incentive on it, and then the building owner that has to own it and pay for it. Each one of those people has 2 to 3 employees that touch every single project that happens. So actually the Polish people get it done faster. So what we're trying to do is take that process, which is completely disjointed, much like the travel industry was 15, 20 years ago, and provide a software platform that allows that project to get done in one centralized location. So an electrician comes out, he specs a job in Retrolux, he presents the proposal to the client, and after that, our tool essentially takes care of the rest of the paperwork, whether that's an energy audit, whether that's utility incentives that need to get done, purchase orders, all that different kind of stuff gets done all in one place. And it gets done at the speed of electronics, not at the speed of fax, phone call, and email. And you'd be surprised, there's people still using product catalogs. I mean, has anybody seen a product catalog in the last 10 years? They exist, and it's in the lighting world. So that's essentially what our problem that we're solving is. It's got a lot of analogs to the travel industry from 15 years ago, a lot of analogs to what Amazon did to brick and mortar businesses, and that we're providing software to replace a lot of what people are doing manually today. So that's what we're doing. It's got a lot of sustainability direction from me, so that's been my entire career has been in the clean energy world, so I do it because I think that by changing our light bulbs, we can change the world. So that's my passion, it's what I love to do. I think it's important to kind of give you guys a little bit of an idea on the scale of the market. People like to know that. So commercial building lighting retrofits. So just retrofitting lighting in the United States in commercial buildings, so that's not houses, that's not new construction, is a $15 billion a year industry right now. And it's expected to grow about 3 to 5% over the next 5 years in the United States, and worldwide about the same. That market to do all lighting in buildings globally is a $91 billion market today. It's going to grow to around a $100 billion market by 2020 alone. So it's a pretty decent sized market to be playing in from my perspective. And the really interesting thing about it from my perspective is that it's almost all done manually. So everybody's out there with pencil and paper taking notes. Everybody's sending purchase orders by, at best, email. None of it's integrated, none of it is done in any kind of way that leverages technology, and that's what we want to provide is the technology that does that. People always want to know what your traction is, so our traction has been really good. We are seeing around 10% growth month on month in our user base. So that's companies that use Retrolux. But more importantly for us, we're monetizing our model by charging transaction fees on the product that's sold through Retrolux. So just like when you buy something from Amazon, they charge a fee, you don't know what happens. Same thing with our tool. Distributors and suppliers charge the client, who is our electrical contractor, we take a transaction fee. That's how we monetize. So we track how many projects are getting sold through Retrolux on a monthly basis. And that metric, we're growing 30% month on month. Last month we hit $2.5 million in projects that were proposed. Of those, around 60% sales, so that's around $1.2 million in projects that were being sold in Retrolux in 1 month alone. So that's the traction we are going after. And we're seeing, I think, pretty good growth right now without a lot of effort actually going in growing new users. And one of the reasons for that is that every one of our users is seeing a lot more throughput. So our basic value prop is that we help people sell lights faster, better, and with less people doing the work. And that's proving out with our users because they're going from closing 30% of their projects to 60%. They're going from taking 6 months to sell a job to 1 day. And so that allows them to sell a lot more products. So having the same number of users allows us to sell more product, which is our revenue driver, which is really cool. So that's kind of a status on our business. The recent updates for the company is we are currently in a fundraising round, so we're going after a Series C. The Boise Angel Alliance is our lead investor, and we're about 40% of the way through our raise at this point in committed funds. And We are hoping to finish that out here in the next month or so. We've got a lot of really promising leads that we're working on, but we're always looking for more folks that are very interested in changing the world from a sustainability standpoint. Or in the construction industry, that's our kind of primary investor type that we're looking for. So that's one need that we're looking for in the company today. And then the second big need that we're looking for is we still have yet to hire a sales director to help me with increasing our sales. So right now I'm managing the sales channels, and we're still hitting our goals, but I think we can juice it, and finding the right person in that aspect is really good. So those are our two needs. I think, one thing I wanted to talk about in the community is it's just great to see these type of events happening. Trailhead has been an amazing resource for the community that I think has really helped bring the startup community together, give them the resources they need, whether that's training right when they're trying to start an idea, all the way to introductions to venture capitalists. Thanks to Jess bringing a bunch of people into Silicon Valley that you didn't see here in Boise, I think, too long ago. So that's a couple of things that I think the community is starting to do really well. I think from my perspective, we still have some room to grow in helping companies make it through the valley of death. So once you have an idea, it's been validated, how do you get through to a commercialized product? There's a lot of attention getting put into that, but I don't think it's quite solved yet, and that's one of the things that I think is going to really help Boise take it to the next level. So I will, I think, wrap it up. That should be about 6 minutes-ish. But the last thing I want to say is I've been to 1 Million Cups in Salt Lake City. I presented down there actually in March, maybe February. And in the second month, Boise already has just as many people. So whatever, we have, a third of the population of Salt Lake City or less, and we're already meeting them on their 1 Million Cups attendance level. So thanks everybody for coming. It's a really good turnout. Thanks.
Cody? Yeah, you mentioned the Valley of Death, which a lot of startups have to go through. What are the things or the resources that you see as an entrepreneur that would be helpful for us that are in that mode? How do we get through that? What are the resources that Trailhead and other people can bring to the table that you see are missing?
Yep. So the two things that are still missing, and I'm going to start with the one that I think is starting to get filled more, is obviously capital. Usually getting through the valley of death is a capital need. You have to start spending money at some point in your company. Most companies that are trying to be highly scalable can't bootstrap forever. So that's one, and that's starting to get, I think, filled through groups like Kretsu Forum. The Boise Angel Alliance, I think, is putting more funds together. There's a couple other people in the room that are actively starting to invest more money and create new funds to try to place more capital. So that's definitely one that is always very painful for founders to go out and beg for money and get told no. I've now up to 80 no's. I mean, that's real. It sucks, but you get used to it. So that's one. I think another one is access to mentors. And so really good mentors is critical to solving problems before they become big problems and getting through tricky situations that you need to do. And I think that's one place that Boise is starting to do a better job on, but isn't there yet. And there's a couple of reasons for it. One is Boise's a working community. We don't have a lot of people that have been really successful and have made it that are willing to give their time. And so a mentor needs to have enough time to give to a company that they can get to know your problems and provide you with really good advice. And Boise is getting more and more of those, but typically the people that are successful here are still working, which is good for the community, but for startups that need that mentorship, it can be kind of tough. So that's one place there also can be a little bit more support. But it just takes time, and it takes more people getting involved, and Trail is a great example of helping to make those connections. I think those are two of the bigger ones. I would say that access to resources, whether that's software developers, consultants that might help you, legal, finance, those types of things, I don't see that to be a critical path place that's actually missing in this community at this point. I think we have enough people providing support in those areas that people that try can find resources there. But those two, I think, are the two primary ones that I've seen.
Any,
Go ahead.
Jolene.
So
resources or introductions can we support you with? And what all the commercial development that's happening in Boise, how does that bode for the sales volume of your business?
Well, that actually brings up another missing point. But so for my business personally, the two things that are primary needs are, like I said, a sales director, somebody who really wants to jump in and help us with what we're doing. And that's a light need. And then, of course, finishing our financing round is at the top of my mind because it has to be right now. One of the things that we're doing is we're only in the retrofit market, so all the new commercial construction isn't interesting to me because we're not supporting that market yet. We will at some point, but we're not going to support it initially. But that does bring up a really good point that I think Boise needs to do a better job about. It was actually my number one, and I totally missed it, so thank you for reminding me. Boise needs to get better at supporting startups by buying their stuff. I got theories of why Boise is the worst place to launch a product in the world, but it is. And I think a lot of it has to do with how geographically isolated we are, that people aren't feeling the pressure of business to innovate and to try new things. But I go to Salt Lake City, I go to Seattle, and people are like, I need something new to be more competitive. And I come here to Boise, and I'm like, I'm good, I don't need it. And I think as a community, we have to support people. So Trailhead, thanks for buying my lights. You know, I sold the lights that are right there to Trailhead. They bought them. I don't power paid for them. We use Retrolux. You know, that's awesome. That helps me validate that my model works. It helps me get a practice run, whatever you can do to support the community by using their product, giving feedback, buying it if it's for sale, and giving it a try and trying to convince the businesses that are out there to take a chance on local companies, I think is a huge opportunity that Boise can get a lot better at.
I really like that. Sue?
I was just wondering if I was on your site, and you're solely industrial or commercial, right? Is there square footage that is like your minimum customer?
No, so Retrolux supports all commercial buildings. We don't do residential. So we have customers that are doing $1,000 jobs, which for a commercial job is pretty small. Typically right now, a lighting retrofit is about $1 a square foot. So a $1,000 job is a 1,000 square foot building. That's pretty small. But we have clients that are using Retrolux that are using it to do things all the way down to single lamps. So it's only one light they use our tool. So I mean, it's completely scalable from small. The biggest job that's gone through our product now is a $450,000 job. So that gives you a sense of scale of what it can handle. Jeff?
For the record, you helped Trailhead with our lights.
Yeah, that's what I was
helping, right? So.
Yeah. You must have been working because I just said that. We sold you guys lights.
Oh, sorry.
I
was actually writing you an email.
Okay. And one of the...
Yeah. So but that wasn't my question, so that's okay.
You're busted. In class, you're busted.
Story of my life, story of my life. Hey, no, question. Oh, I do have a question. The product, can you talk a little bit about your challenges from a customer acquisition versus product dev in terms of what, where does focus and how you battle that?
That is one of the hardest things, I think, for every startup founder to go through is where do you spend your time? You don't have enough time, you don't have enough money. Like that's the only two guarantees in startup land. And so you always have to be prioritizing, do I build more product, more features to attract more customers, or do I go try to sell the piece of garbage I have today and promise the features later and hope that I can then get to them before they get pissed? I mean, that's kind of the cycle that you're constantly working in, and I don't know that there's a good answer other than you just have to do both and do as much product development as you can, but once you have something you think you can sell, try to sell it. And if it doesn't sell, then you're like, well, it's not selling. You've gotten feedback of why they don't want to buy. Now you know what to build, and then you go back and be like, well, I built it, well, you buy. And so I think you kind of have to do that cycle over and over and over again, and eventually your product should be what the clients have said they want at the very least versus what you thought you wanted to build for them. And at the very best, you've now built something that a client can't say no to because you've eliminated their no's. Right now in our company, we aren't building product at all. I'm not a software developer, so I'm focused 100% on client sales. We do have a software development team that provides ongoing support so that we don't have to worry about that, but it's like 5 hours a month or something that they end up having to support the product. So it's very minimal. We do have a very good idea of what next to build, but I, not being a software developer, need to bring somebody on so that I can get it done. That being said, people love our tool as is. I don't have to sell any more than it is. It's already to a point where it's very usable, it's commercial ready, and people are excited about it. So I mean, that is good, but you know, for full disclosure, at this point, I've spent $100,000 of my own money. I think I added up the time that's into it, and we're around 8,000 hours. It's not like it happened overnight by any stretch of the imagination, and it happens to be in an industry that I am very familiar in. And so, I mean, that's not counting all the hours that I've spent in the industry just learning energy efficiency, learning lighting. And so it's not a small challenge to get a company off the ground no matter what your idea is. So I always tell people what separates the successful entrepreneurs from the non is the successful ones never give up. And you'll have plenty of opportunities to throw in the towel, like plenty. All rational people would turn around and walk the other way, and for some reason the irrational entrepreneur continues to go forward. So that's always my advice is if you got a good idea and you're passionate about it and you believe it, go as far as you can, take it as long as you can, and don't give up just because people tell you no, because you know, I have a list of the 80 investors that have told me no. 80 have said no. And that's not including the ones that people have told me they've told other people, and that's just people that have told me forever. And so you get used to it, but the thing is, it's really good practice for when you have customers, because a lot of them are going to say no too. So you got to get used to just having people tell you no, and you just move on.
Michael, and then back to Sue. Speaking of customers, what's your target customer?
Our target customers right now are electrical contractors and distributors. So our client is the distributor because they're who pays our bills, but the electrical contractors are our primary user. And so those are our two primary people. We have manufacturers that are clients because they sell direct. So anybody who sells a light to a building owner, and it can be a manufacturer, distributor, or a contractor, are our targets. And there are specialty ones out there, but those are the three main categories.
Thanks. Sue?
I was just going to ask, that list of 80, do you keep that becomes your blacklist, or do you?
No, honestly, most of them are on our investment newsletter. I mean, people seem to be amazed at how many reasons you get told why people want to invest in your company. It's very rarely your idea sucks. They usually have a very good reason, and they want to be updated on what's going on in your company. They're excited about it, and for whatever reason, it's not the right time or right space for them. And so we've maintained a very good relationship with all of them. I want them to be updated on how we're doing. If they expressed interest and they pass to me, that's okay. And so they may want to invest in a future round. They may have a friend that they want to introduce us to after we hit some milestones. So there's no reason whatsoever to burn a bridge. And when you're a startup, there's no reason. You've got plenty of problems without creating more for yourself.